All right. Hey, so now I'm gonna review Cobra Kai. It's an American show that I think recently just ended the sixth and final season, and I'm really glad it's over because this has been a guilty pleasure, and I think for the most part a waste of time for in my life. But I highly, just really enjoyed it. Um, Now this show is an extension of the Karate Kid films from the I think the 80s, and mainly the first one, because as the show progresses, it brings out legacy characters from the second and I believe the third one. I don't even remember the second, third ones or if I've seen them. But it doesn't matter because the way like this show brings out legacy characters is so shameless and it's taken so seriously. Like that's why I think when I say the show is a guilty pleasure, I mean like it hones in hard on like 80s nostalgia, bring back legacy characters, and just making it all so serious and just making it really fun. Um, Especially with the new cast, like the younger people who were not in obviously like they weren't born or alive during those 80s movies. But they're also I find like engaging and interesting characters too. I mean, not really, but again, like it just depends on like what you want from your sort of show and what you're into. I'm usually not interested in these types of shows, but maybe because I do have a fascination towards martial arts, um, towards like rivalries taken seriously and based on something from the past, you know. It's not really I'm not saying it's a healthy way to engage in entertainment. Um, but the show does understand that, especially for American audiences like me, um, older ones too. I'm 33. Um, we do have familiarity with older movies, and especially like with Star Wars, for example. We have the sequel trilogy that came out, uh, kind of like hit and miss there. Cobra Kai is the most shameless and consistent extension of a story, I think, uh, or that continues the story that was from 80s sort of media content. And because of its earnestness, it does well. And also because it centers on Johnny, who was the antagonist or one of the main antagonists in the first Karate Kid movie in the 80s. So if he might have looked more like sort of a villain character in those films, and he's kind of redeemed at the end of it a little bit. But here, the story really, like, this show is, for the most part, supposed to be about him. I think as the show goes on, like, between seasons two and five, it kind of meanders through different ones, different characters, new ones, and even old legacy ones, especially Danny LaRusso, who was the protagonist of the Karate Kid films in the 80s, and now he's sometimes side character slash co-star main character with Johnny, but the show's all about Johnny. So when I originally like researched the premise for this show, um I was intrigued because yes, I have some familiarity with with those 80s films. I do like martial arts, and I'm always interested to see when people try to like continue stories, especially in American media from like the 80s. And so I watched the first episode, and the first episode just gave me everything. I knew what it was going to be about. I knew like who like yeah, and that's it. Like what it was going to be about, and I was all for it. Um, this is not a show to be taken seriously, like at all. I don't think it's gonna make me think about life or the world or the future. It's just a fun ride, fun time for me. Um, and I'm like I said, I don't even know if I watched the second and third Karate Kid movies, but they do bring back legacy characters as the show goes on from those films, not just Danny and Johnny, who were sort of, yeah. Um, Not the two main characters, but like, yeah, the rivalry in the first film. And the showrunners try so hard to like give everyone something to do, bring their comeback, to the story today, to make it as relevant as possible to the story. It's just, I think, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Maybe not really. This is like the best American drama comedy, like yeah, comedy dramedy that I think I've seen in modern times. It's something that I think will not be replicated again for a long time. I'm not saying it's the perfect show, not by all means. There are other shows I think that have better like value, but this is just like feel good American entertainment for me, especially as someone who's kind of raised in the U.S. and understands what the show's doing and the kind of shamelessness it has in doing that. And there are also a lot of good shows too I want to watch. You know, an actual show called Shameless, which I've seen some episodes on. I hear is really good. I did like that one. Breaking Bad, you know, yeah, I don't know. When it comes to Cobra Kai, like it has this sitcom feel where it's like a lot of characters get in the same situations over and over again, repetition, repetition. Because it all takes place kind of like in one sort of general setting, like this part of town in LA, in the Valley. So this show is also kind of like a love letter to the Valley in LA, which I have never lived in. I visited a couple times, maybe. But I can tell the showrunners do love, I guess, older Hollywood, more vintage Hollywood, because the show does showcase like older infrastructure, businesses and buildings, and callbacks to, I guess those businesses are still there today. Um, and even though the show does kind of like focus on other characters, maybe a bit too much, I liked it. I liked it. But like when it comes to like the premise of the show, the focus on Johnny, giving him justice, humanizing him, not really redeeming him, but like at least like giving him a more fleshed out story than like in the films. I was glad that by the end of season 6, like yeah, it brought it home, you know, and made sure to end 100% on Johnny on Cobra Kai, you know. It's and I like the way they did it. It was surprising. A lot of the stuff that happens in the show is pretty predictable, I think. But again, it's just like feel good American nostalgic entertainment for me. Definitely not for everyone. I bring up like what I would think is the genre of this show when it comes to like the nostalgia because just so you know what you're in for if you're going to try to watch it and you haven't seen the other ones. Even though the show does a good job of like yeah just fleshing out even the legacy characters who some of them I don't even remember, the newer characters, and there's a whole lot of them. Like the show has a pretty big cast. um so um I don't know, I just want to kind of vent it out, talk about it. I'm glad it's over. It was a good time, but I gotta focus on other things now. So that was Cobra Kai. um I recommend it only if some of that stuff I said sound kind of interesting. Until then, take it easy, y'all. Peace.